Okay, so are you ready to dive into the world of Yorkshire Terriers?
Absolutely.
We've got a mountain of articles and videos for this deep dive, and I have to admit, getting ready for this one,
Right.
I was like glued to my seat learning about these dogs.
Yeah.
They are so fascinating.
Yeah, they really are.
And one of the things that just blew me away was learning that these little dogs were originally bred to be fierce ratters
Right.
in 19th century English mines and mills.
It's true.
Like, come on.
They were like furry little gladiators.
Right.
Facing down rodents
Yeah.
in those tough industrial environments.
Talk about a career change.
Right.
I mean,
It's a far cry from
yeah.
their image as pampered pups today.
Okay, so how did they go from chasing vermin to, like, charming their way onto the laps of Victorian aristocracy?
Well, their size
Yeah.
played a huge role in their transformation.
Awesome.
Imagine this
Okay.
Victorian England, crowded, bustling,
Yeah.
and these elegant ladies needing a companion that could fit in a handbag. Yorkies, surprisingly agile and compact,
Right.
were the perfect answer.
They were adaptable even back then,
They were.
but they were considerably larger back then.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Early Yorkies could weigh up to 15 pounds.
Wow.
It's like a bowling ball with legs.
Okay, maybe not a bowling ball,
Well,
but definitely a lot more robust than the teacup-sized pups we see today.
yeah.
So I was reading about their ancestry, and I saw names like Waterside Terriers and Clydesdale Terriers.
Right.
Were those also known for their ratting prowess?
Precisely.
Okay.
Each of these breeds contributed specific traits that made the Yorkshire Terrier a formidable vermin hunter.
Okay.
The Waterside Terrier, for instance, was known for its tenacity and its water-repellent coat,
Oh, wow.
which would have been perfect for navigating those damp mines.
So it's like they were custom built for this job.
Yeah.
So we've got these like tough as nails ratters,
Right.
but then they catch the eye of the Victorian elite.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Well-
Was it just like being in the right place at the right time?
Well, their small size made them incredibly portable,
That's true.
which was a huge plus in those days.
Yeah.
But it was more than just convenience. They
Yeah.
had these incredibly silky coats
Yeah.
that were considered incredibly fashionable.
Right.
Victorians were all about elegance and refinement,
Yeah.
and the Yorkies' luxurious fur fit right in with that aesthetic.
So they went from catching rats in the mines to being the ultimate fashion accessory.
They did.
That's an incredible glow up.
It really is.
Okay, so this newfound popularity
Yeah.
must have had a huge impact on the breed's development.
They did.
Breeders must have started to be like, okay, we need to focus on
Right.
the smaller size,
Exactly.
the silkier coat,
Mm-hmm.
all those charming personality traits.
Absolutely.
Speaking of their personality,
Yeah.
you mentioned that they were more than just like cute accessories. They had a bit of a reputation, didn't they?
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Even with their newfound status, they never lost that terrier spirit.
Okay.
There are accounts of people using Yorkies for hunting as far back as the 11th century,
Really?
believe it or not.
Oh, I'm sorry?
Yeah.
Hunting with the Yorkie?
Yeah.
What? I know.
Like how? They were small enough to slip under bushes and flesh out game, like miniature hunting partners?
Were there really no size restrictions back then on dogs for hunting?
It seems not.
Wow.
They were small enough to fly under the radar, so to speak.
Right.
Larger breeds often faced restrictions, but the Yorkies, they were in a league of their own.
That's wild.
It is pretty amazing.
It's like they had this secret life as these tiny but mighty hunters.
They were masters of adaptation.
They really were.
But to answer your earlier question about their rise to fame,
Okay.
there's one name you need to know. Huddersfield Ben.
Huddersfield Ben.
This little dog, owned by Marianne Foster, was a show dog extraordinaire
Okay.
in the late 1860s.
Okay.
He racked up awards at dog shows all over Great Britain,
Wow.
and his influence on the breed standard was significant.
So Huddersfield Ben, the trendsetter.
That's a good way to put it.
He was like the George Clooney of Yorkshire Terriers
You could say that.
back in the day.
Yeah.
So he really helped to solidify that image of the Yorkshire Terrier as we know it today.
It did.
Known for elegance and refinement.
That's right.
Okay, so now I'm picturing these dapper little dogs
Right.
strutting their stuff at dog shows,
Yeah.
winning hearts with every silky step.
Mm,
But somewhere under that glamorous exterior,
right.
the heart of a true terrier still beats.
Absolutely.
Right.
They might be small, but they're fearless,
Yeah.
curious, and surprisingly protective.
Yeah, I was reading one article that called them the tomboy toy,
Oh, that's a good one.
which I kind of love.
It's pretty perfect.
It is.
Yeah.
And you could just see it.
Yeah.
When you look at them, they have this like air of confidence
Yeah.
that's completely out of proportion to their size.
The Kennel Club describes it as an air of self-importance.
Which I kind of love.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's important to remember that this confidence, while endearing, can also manifest as stubbornness.
Right.
They're intelligent dogs, but they definitely have a mind of their own.
So potential Yorkie owners prepared for a little personality.
Oh, definitely.
Right.
But those who embrace it
Yeah.
discover an incredibly loyal and entertaining companion.
So they really are like these little bundles of energy and affection,
Right.
always up for an adventure.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's just like supervising you from the back of the sofa.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered their history, their rise to stardom.
Yeah.
Even their secret life as tiny hunters.
Right.
But before we get into what it takes to actually live with a Yorkie today,
Okay.
I want to touch on something that you mentioned earlier,
Mm-hmm.
that air of self-importance.
All right.
Would you say that behind those big, bright eyes, there's a bit of a bossy streak?
Let's just say they have a flair for the dramatic.
Okay, I like that.
And understanding that inherent terrier tenacity
Yeah.
is key to successfully navigating life with a Yorkie.
Okay.
They might not be hauling rats out of mine shafts anymore,
Right. Yeah.
but those instincts are still there,
Right.
just waiting to be channeled in a more modern way.
So if those instincts are still there,
Yeah.
how does that translate to their temperament today?
Well, I'd imagine those terrier instincts could manifest in a few ways.
Right.
First off,
Yeah.
Yorkies are incredibly alert.
Yeah.
And I mean, they were bred to work independently, making quick decisions in those dark, dangerous mines.
Right.
So it makes sense
Yeah.
that maybe your little Yorkie is going to transform into a furry alarm system. A moment like someone walks by the window or the mail arrives.
Yeah, that alertness,
Right.
well, charming can translate into barking.
Oh.
And we all know Yorkies have a
Mhm.
reputation for having a big bark
Yeah.
for their small size.
They do.
It's almost comical how such a huge sound
Right.
can come out of such a small creature.
It's true.
Is that something that can be managed with training, or is that just like their DNA?
It's a bit of both, actually.
Okay.
Those watchdog instincts are deeply ingrained.
Right.
But like any dog,
Yeah.
Yorkies can learn to modulate their barking with consistent training.
Oh, okay.
So it's all about putting in the work early on.
So teaching like the speak
Mm-hmm.
and the quiet commands.
Right, exactly.
Especially for apartment living and things like that.
Exactly.
Okay, what about their energy levels?
Yeah.
Because, these ancestors were running around mines all day.
Right.
Surely a quick stroll around the block isn't going to cut it for these dogs.
You're right. Those little legs are capable of surprising bursts of energy.
Okay.
Daily walks are a must.
Yeah.
But don't underestimate the power of play.
Okay.
Yorkies thrive on interactive games that challenge their minds and bodies.
So it's like they need a job, even if it's just figuring out
Yes.
the best way to win a game of fetch.
Exactly.
And I read that they can even excel in dog sports, like agility and obedience,
Absolutely.
which seems a world away from their rat-catching days. But
Right.
it makes sense when you think about, okay, they need that
Yeah.
outlet for all that energy and all those instincts.
Those sports tap into their natural intelligence and drive.
Right.
They need mental stimulation just as much as physical exercise.
It's so funny to picture like a Yorkshire Terrier doing agility.
Oh my gosh, it's one of the most entertaining things ever.
I bet.
Those little legs just going a mile a minute.
I'm going to have to YouTube that later.
You have to.
Now I have to ask about something that
Yeah.
seems to come up
Right.
with every terrier breed,
Right.
and that's housebreaking.
Yes.
Is it true what they say about Yorkies being notoriously difficult to potty train?
Let's just say it can be a bit more challenging compared to some breeds.
Okay.
Their small bladder size doesn't help,
Right.
and their independent streak can make them a tad stubborn about following the rules.
Yeah.
But with patience, consistency, and a good sense of humor,
Yeah.
it's definitely doable.
So lots of positive reinforcement,
Yes.
maybe a few extra trips outside
Exactly.
in those early days.
Start potty training early.
Yeah.
Establish a routine.
Right.
And celebrate those victories with
Yeah.
plenty of praise and maybe a tiny, healthy treat.
Positive reinforcement.
Positive reinforcement is key.
Got it.
Remember, harsh punishment
Right.
is counterproductive.
Yep.
These little guys respond best to positive reinforcement.
Right.
They're eager to please,
Yeah.
but they need to understand what you expect of them.
That makes sense. It's all about clear communication
Exactly.
and building that bond of trust.
Yes.
Okay, let's talk about something that I find absolutely fascinating about Yorkshire Terriers.
Okay.
And that's that luxurious flowing coat.
Yes.
It's like their trademark.
It really is.
But I have to admit, I've heard whispers about the upkeep being, quite intense. Is it true? Is that silky mane as high maintenance as they say?
Oh, it's true.
Okay.
But here's the fascinating part.
Okay.
Their hair is incredibly similar to human hair
Really?
in its structure. It grows continuously, and it doesn't shed as much as other breeds.
That explains why they're often considered a good choice for people with allergies.
Right.
Even though no dog is truly hypoallergenic.
Exactly.
But that unique hair structure comes with a price grooming.
It does.
Okay, what are we talking?
We're talking daily brushing
Okay.
to prevent mats and tangles,
Right.
regular baths.
Yeah.
And for that show dog look, even wrapping their hair.
Wrapping, like with paper.
Yes.
To protect it.
To prevent breakage and maintain that perfect flowing mane.
That sounds incredibly intricate.
It is.
Oh, wow.
But let's be realistic.
Yeah.
Most pet owners opt for shorter, more manageable haircuts.
Right.
A puppy cut is a popular choice as
Yeah.
it's easier to maintain and keeps the dog comfortable.
So those glamorous floor-length coats we see in dog shows,
Yes.
that's a whole other level of dedication.
Absolutely. It's practically a part-time job in itself.
I bet.
But whether you go for a short trim or a show-stopping mane,
Right.
regular grooming is essential for a Yorkie's health and well-being. It's not just about looks, it's about preventing mats,
Right.
which can be painful,
Of course, yeah.
and keeping their skin healthy.
Speaking of health,
Right.
I know that Yorkshire Terriers, like all breeds, have their own set of potential health concerns.
do?
Now, I don't want to dwell on the negative,
Right.
but I think it's important to go into this deep dive with our eyes wide open.
I agree.
What are some things that potential Yorkie owners should be aware of?
You're absolutely right. Knowledge is power when it comes to responsible pet ownership.
Yes.
While Yorkies generally have a good lifespan of 11 to 15 years,
Okay, that's good to know.
they can be prone to certain genetic conditions.
Okay, what are some of those?
One condition is called portosystemic shunts,
Okay.
which affects their liver.
Okay.
Essentially, it means that their blood bypasses the liver,
Oh, wow.
which prevents it from being properly filtered.
Okay.
This can lead to a buildup of toxins in their system
Right.
and a whole host of other problems.
And this is something that's passed down genetically.
Yes, it's often hereditary.
Okay, another condition they can be prone to.
Another condition is hypoglycemia,
Okay.
which is low blood sugar.
Okay.
This is especially common in puppies
Right.
and smaller Yorkies.
Okay.
Their small size means they have a faster metabolism,
Right.
and they can burn through glucose quickly,
Yeah.
leading to weakness, lethargy, and even seizures in severe cases.
So keeping a close eye on their energy levels
Yes.
and making sure they're eating regularly.
Yes, especially for puppies.
Especially for puppies.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
And that brings us to a really important point.
It does.
Finding a responsible breeder.
Yes, absolutely.
I was just going to ask about that.
Yeah.
Because choosing a breeder can feel overwhelming.
It can.
What are some like red flags?
Okay.
Green flags?
Yeah, let's start with the green flags.
Okay.
Those signs that you found a breeder who prioritizes the health and well-being of their dogs.
Right.
A responsible breeder will be happy to answer all your questions.
Okay.
And I mean all of them.
Right.
They'll be transparent about their breeding practices,
Right.
their dog's lineage,
Mm-hmm.
and any health concerns within their lines.
Yeah.
They'll also be actively involved in genetic testing and screening for common hereditary conditions,
Okay.
like the ones we discussed.
So asking about those tests is not only acceptable, but encouraged.
Absolutely. A good breeder will welcome those questions.
Okay.
They want to make sure their puppies are going to homes that understand the breed
Right.
and are prepared to provide the best possible care.
It's about finding the perfect match.
Yes.
Not just for the puppy, but for the owner as well.
Exactly.
Okay, now I have to bring up something that's been on my mind, particularly after learning about the importance of responsible breeding.
Right.
Let's talk about the teacup Yorkie trend.
Ah, yes, the teacup Yorkie.
It's a term that's often associated with, like, cuteness overload.
It is.
But the reality, I feel like, is far more complicated.
It is.
It's almost like this unspoken pressure
Right.
to breed smaller and smaller dogs.
Right.
And that just makes me a little uneasy.
Yeah.
What's the reality behind the teacup label?
Right.
Is it even a real thing?
That's the thing. Teacup isn't a recognized breed standard. It's a marketing term
Oh.
used to describe exceptionally small Yorkies,
Okay.
often bred for their perceived cuteness.
So it's more about aesthetics than anything else.
Precisely.
And I'm guessing that pursuit of cuteness often comes at a cost.
Unfortunately, it does.
What are some of the health concerns associated with these extremely small Yorkies?
Because they're bred for size over everything else. Teacup Yorkies often suffer from a whole host of health issues. We're talking about fragile bones that are prone to fractures, digestive problems, mental issues, and an increased risk of complications from anesthesia due to their tiny size.
It's like we're pushing their bodies to the limit. All for the sake of fitting into teacup.
Right.
It's kind of heartbreaking.
It is.
And what's even more concerning is I bet a lot of these breeders who are charging a premium for teacup puppies aren't performing the necessary health checks or screenings.
Unfortunately, that's often the case.
So not only are these tiny dogs more prone to health problems, but they're also more likely to come from irresponsible breeders who are more interested in profit than the well-being of their dogs.
Unfortunately, that's the case a lot of the time.
Wow. That's a lot to process.
It is.
So for our listener out there,
the
person who might be considering a Yorkie, don't get caught up in the teacup hype. Focus on finding a healthy, well-adjusted puppy from a responsible breeder who prioritizes temperament and health over size.
That's such important advice.
It is.
Don't be afraid to ask the breeder tough questions. Do your research. And remember that a healthy, happy dog is far more important than one that fits in a teacup.
Absolutely. A true Yorkie lover appreciates the breed for its big personality and loyalty, not just its size.
That's a perfect note to kind of transition to what it's actually like to live with these tiny bundles of energy. We've talked about their history, their temperament, those grooming demands, those potential health concerns. But now I want to get into the nitty-gritty of what it's really like to share your life with a Yorkshire Terrier. So we've established that Yorkshire Terriers are these incredible little enigmas, fierce ratters, turned fashion icons, independent spirits, but with hearts of gold. But what's it really like to welcome one into your home?
It's an adventure, that's for sure.
I bet it is. Imagine having this tiny shadow that follows you everywhere.
Yeah.
A furry alarm system that alerts you to every passing squirrel. And a cuddle buddy that demands to be pampered like royalty.
There's that word again, pampered.
Right.
Is that the key to a happy Yorkie?
Well.
Are they content with just lounging on velvet pillows and being adored?
Well, they certainly wouldn't object to a bit of pampering.
I bet they wouldn't.
Let's be honest. Those silky coats were made for luxurious snaps, but beneath that diva exterior, they're still terriers at heart. They crave adventure, even if it's just exploring every nook and cranny of your backyard.
So striking that balance between mental and physical stimulation is key.
Absolutely. Interactive games, puzzle toys, even short training sessions. These are all great ways to keep a Yorkie entertained and engaged.
They sound like they need it.
They do. They need it. They're incredibly smart and eager to please, which makes them a joy to train.
Good to know.
Especially if you embrace positive reinforcement.
What about socialization?
Yes.
I imagine with their history as watchdogs. They might need a little extra help in the manners department.
You're right. Early socialization is crucial for any dog. But especially for terriers, they can be naturally wary of strangers and other dogs. So it's important to expose them to a variety of sights, sounds, and experiences from a young age.
So puppy classes, trips to the park.
Yes.
Even just inviting friends over, it all adds up to a well-adjusted Yorkie.
Precisely. And the beauty of their size is that they're portable.
That's true.
You can take them practically anywhere, as long as you're mindful of their comfort and safety, of course.
Speaking of safety, what's your advice for navigating a world that, wasn't really built for dogs their size? Any tips for keeping our miniature adventurers safe and sound?
That's such an important point, because they're so small they can be easily underfoot. Teach children how to interact with them gently. And always supervise their play dates. Also be mindful of their environment. A fall from a sofa could seriously injure a tiny dog.
Of course.
And be extra cautious in areas with larger dogs.
Yeah.
Even a playful nip from a big dog could be dangerous for a Yorkie.
Right. It's all about being their advocate.
Exactly.
Seeing the world from their tiny perspective.
Yes.
I think that's a good philosophy for any dog owner.
It is.
But especially for those with small breeds.
Yeah.
Now, before we wrap up this deep dive,
Sure.
I want to circle back to something that's been kind of resonating with me throughout this conversation.
Okay.
And it's this incredible journey of the Yorkshire Terrier.
Right.
I mean, from those gritty mine shafts to those elegant Victorian drawing rooms. I mean, they've truly seen it all.
It's an incredible story, isn't it?
It really is.
And it speaks volumes about their adaptability, resilience, and that undeniable charm that has captivated hearts for centuries.
So for our listener out there, the person who might be on the verge of welcoming a Yorkie into their life, what's the one thing you hope they take away from this deep dive?
I hope they understand that a Yorkshire Terrier is so much more than just a pretty face.
I love that.
They're intelligent, spirited, and deeply loving companions, but they're not for everyone. They need an owner who understands their unique needs. And is prepared to put in the time and effort to nurture their big personalities.
That's beautifully said. And if they're willing to embrace the adventure, to appreciate that terrier tenacity that lies beneath that silky exterior, I have a feeling they'll discover a love that's as big and bold as the Yorkshire Terrier itself.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, that about wraps up our deep dive into the world of Yorkshire Terriers. So from fierce ratters to Victorian fashion icons, we've covered it all. But remember, there's always more to learn. So if this deep dive has sparked your curiosity, don't stop here. Keep digging for more information, and who knows, maybe you'll discover something new about this fascinating breed that we missed.